Captain Elena Voss stared at the ship, if one could call it that, docked at Titan Base. The ancient vessel's hull was scarred with countless micrometeorite impacts, its once sleek silhouette now marred by hasty repair patches in mismatched metals. The name, Fragile Hope, was stenciled on the bow in faded lettering, a half-hearted attempt at irony that felt more like mockery. "This is it?" she asked, unable to mask her disappointment. "This is what the Galactic Alliance assigns to humanity's first deep space command?" Beside her, Admiral Kazan's mandibles clicked in what Elena had come to recognize as the Arcturian equivalent of a smirk. "Consider it an honor, Captain. Your species has only been part of the Alliance for 7 orbital cycles. Most newcomers wait decades before receiving any command." Elena bit back her retort. The Arcturians had been among the more vocal opponents to humanity's admission into the Alliance. She wouldn't give Kazan the satisfaction of seeing her frustration. "The Fragile Hope may not look impressive," the Admiral continued, "but she's spaceworthy. Mostly. Her engines are functional, her life support adequate. She's perfect for your kind." "Our kind, Admiral?" "Humans." The word came out like something distasteful. Always rushing, always adapting, always breaking things. The Alliance Council thought it fitting to assign you a vessel that matches your species' resilience and... He paused, mandibles twitching. Limitations. Elena's jaw tightened. Throughout humanity's brief tenure in the Alliance, they'd been treated as second-class citizens, underdeveloped, primitive, barely worth acknowledging. This assignment was just another reminder of their status. "When can we begin boarding procedures?" she asked, changing the subject. "Immediately. Your crew has already arrived." As they approached the airlock, Elena noticed a cluster of humans waiting nearby, each wearing the deep blue uniforms of Alliance officers with Earth's emblem, a simplified globe surrounded by a single ring, stitched on their shoulders. They straightened as she approached. "Captain on deck," called a tall, lean woman with close-cropped hair. "At ease," Elena replied. "I'm Captain Elena Voss. Let's save the formalities for when we're aboard." The woman nodded. "Weapons Officer Arya Sol, Captain. I've served 3 years on the Alliance cruiser Dominion." "Under Captain Dakar. He's a tough commander." "The toughest," Arya agreed with a small smile. "But fair." A shorter man with intelligent eyes and fingers that wouldn't stop moving stepped forward. "Min Tran, Engineering Chief. Everyone calls me Chip." His accent carried traces of Southeast Asia. "I've been studying the Fragile Hope's schematics. She's interesting." "Interesting is one way to put it," Elena said, reading between the lines. "She's got potential," Chip insisted. "The propulsion system is oversized for her frame, probably a retrofit from a much larger vessel. If we can optimize the power routing, we might surprise some people." The last crew member stepped forward, a woman with calm eyes and a medic's insignia. "Flight Officer Jia Min, Captain. I handle communications and medical. I was stationed on Earth's lunar base before this assignment." Elena nodded to each of them. "Not a large crew. The Alliance Council believes this is adequate for a vessel of Fragile Hope's capabilities," Admiral Kazan interjected. "A larger crew would be wasted." "We'll make it work," Elena replied firmly. "We always do." The Admiral's compound eyes studied her. "I'm sure you'll try. Captain, your departure window opens in 6 hours. You're to escort a supply convoy to the Rhea outpost. A simple mission, even for humans." After the Admiral left, Elena turned to her crew. "Let's see what we're working with." The interior of the Fragile Hope was as uninspiring as its exterior. Narrow corridors connected cramped compartments. The bridge, designed for a species with different proportions, had been haphazardly modified for human use. Exposed conduits ran along bulkheads, and the lighting flickered intermittently. "Home sweet home," Arya muttered. Chip was already at an access panel, fingers dancing across the controls. "Captain, you should see this. The weapon systems are unconventional." Elena joined him, examining the readouts. "These aren't standard Alliance armaments." "No, they're not. They're much older, pre-Alliance even. But the power routing is fascinating." Chip's eyes lit up with the excitement of a technician presented with a puzzle. "It's almost as if someone was experimenting. Can they function? In theory, they'll need calibration, and I'll have to jury-rig some of the targeting systems. But," he grinned, "they might just work." "Good, because I have a feeling we'll need them." Elena straightened. "Everyone to the bridge. We need to prepare for departure." As her crew dispersed, Elena lingered in the engine room. The massive drive core pulsed with a blue-green light, incongruously powerful compared to the rest of the ship. It reminded her of humanity itself, underestimated, but with potential far beyond what others recognized. "We'll show them," she whispered to the humming machinery. "We'll show them all." 6 hours later, the fragile Hope detached from Titan Base with a shudder that rattled through the hull. Elena sat in the command chair, which had been modified with extra padding to accommodate human physiology. "Status report," she called. "Propulsion at 70% capacity," Chip responded from the engineering station. "It's the best I can do without a complete overhaul. Life support functioning within acceptable parameters," Jia Min added. "Communications online. Weapon systems partially operational," Arya said with a grimace. "I've managed to get the main forward array online, but the targeting system is giving me grief." Elena nodded. "It'll have to do. Set course to rendezvous with the supply convoy. Let's show the Alliance what this ship, and her crew, can really do." As they cleared Saturn's gravitational influence, a transmission came through. Jia Min patched it to the main display. "Captain Voss." Admiral Kazan's face appeared, mandibles twitching with what might have been amusement. "Before you depart Alliance space, there's a matter you should be aware of. There have been incidents along the supply route. The Iron Soul faction has been increasingly aggressive." Elena frowned. The Iron Soul, a militant group that opposed the Alliance's expansionist policies, had been a growing concern for years. "What kind of incidents?" "Attacks on Alliance vessels. Nothing your ship needs to concern itself with. The convoy will have proper escorts." "Then why tell me?" Kazan's compound eyes glittered. "Merely a courtesy, Captain. Safe travels." The transmission cut off. "He's hiding something," Arya said immediately. "Obviously," Elena agreed. "Jia Min, access Alliance intelligence reports. Let's see what we're really flying into." It took hours of digging through classified bulletins, using access codes that Elena wasn't strictly supposed to have, before they found it. "Here," Jia Min said, highlighting a report. 3 days ago, an Iron Soul strike force destroyed a critical wormhole relay near the Rhea outpost. They're claiming it was an Alliance vessel that fired first, a vessel matching Fragile Hope's registry." A heavy silence fell over the bridge. "That's impossible," Chip finally said. "This ship was docked at Titan Base 3 days ago." "The Iron Soul are saying we destroyed their wormhole?" Arya's voice rose in disbelief. "Why would they think that?" "Because someone wants them to," Elena said, her mind racing. "Someone in the Alliance wants to frame us, or humans in general, for an act of aggression against the Iron Soul." "But why?" Jia Min asked. "Politics," Elena replied grimly. "There are factions in the Alliance who never wanted humans included. What better way to prove their point than to have the first human-commanded ship spark an incident with the Iron Soul?" Arya's hands clenched. "So we're being set up as sacrificial lambs." "It appears so." Elena stood, pacing the small bridge. "But we're not going to play their game. Jia Min, send a message to Earth Command. Inform them of the situation." "Captain," Jia Min hesitated. Communications to Earth are being routed through Alliance channels. If there are people in the Alliance involved in this, they'll intercept our message. Elena finished. You're right. She thought for a moment. Send it anyway, but encrypt it with the old Earth defense codes. And prepare a second message, for general broadcast. Let's make it seem like we're oblivious to the situation. Over the next 12 hours, the Fragile Hope rendezvoused with the supply convoy. 5 massive transport vessels, accompanied by 2 Alliance patrol ships. The convoy commander, a Syrian captain named Vex, made no effort to hide his disdain when Elena's face appeared on his view screen. Captain Voss, he said, his crystalline features refracting light in patterns that indicated annoyance. I was informed you would be joining us. Your vessel will remain at the rear of the formation. Follow our lead and try not to fall behind. With all due respect, Captain Vex, my orders are to escort this convoy. That means maintaining a defensive posture. Your ship is barely armed, Vex replied dismissively. What protection could you possibly offer? Elena smiled thinly. Let's hope we don't have to find out. The convoy set off toward the Rhea outpost, traversing the vast emptiness between Saturn and the outer reaches of the solar system. The journey would take days, even at FTL speeds, with periodic drops to normal space for navigation corrections. During one such drop, alarm klaxons blared across the Fragile Hope's bridge. Multiple contacts, Jiamin called out. Coming in fast from the asteroid belt. On screen, Elena ordered. The display showed 6 sleek vessels, approaching rapidly, their hulls gleaming with a metallic sheen that gave the Iron Soul faction its name. They've found us, Arya said, already activating the weapon systems. Captain Vex. Elena opened a channel to the convoy leader. We have Iron Soul vessels approaching. Request permission to engage. Negative. Fragile Hope, came the immediate response. Maintain your position. Our ships will handle this. Elena watched as the 2 Alliance patrol ships moved to intercept the Iron Soul vessels. They were larger, better armed, and should have had the advantage. But the Iron Soul ships moved with unexpected coordination, splitting into pairs that outmaneuvered the Alliance vessels. They're using swarm tactics, Arya observed, fighting as a unit rather than individually. And it's working, Elena noted, as one of the Alliance patrol ships took a direct hit to its propulsion system. Captain, Chip called from engineering. I've been studying their movement patterns. They're utilizing the asteroid field for cover and to mask their signatures. But there's a pattern to it. Can we exploit it? A grin spread across Chip's face. With a few modifications to our sensors? Absolutely. Do it, Elena ordered. Jiamin, inform Captain Vex that we're moving to support his vessels. Captain Vex says to hold position, Jiamin reported after a moment. He's quite insistent. Note his objection in the log, Elena replied. Then take us in. The Fragile Hope shuddered as its oversized engines pushed it forward, accelerating faster than its frame was designed to handle. Warning lights flashed across multiple consoles. Hull integrity at 85%, Chip reported. The frame wasn't built for this kind of stress. It'll hold, Elena said with more confidence than she felt. Arya, target the lead Iron Soul vessel. Targeting systems still unreliable, Arya responded, frustration evident in her voice. I can't get a clean lock. Then we'll have to get closer. Elena decided. Jiamin, full power to forward shields. The Fragile Hope dove into the fray, its unexpected arrival momentarily confusing the Iron Soul formation. Elena used that hesitation to her advantage, bringing the ship alongside one of the damaged Alliance patrol vessels. Captain Voss, the Syrian commander's voice crackled over the comms, his crystalline features fractured with anger. You were ordered to maintain position. Your ships are taking heavy damage, Elena replied calmly. We're evening the odds. Before Vex could respond, 3 Iron Soul vessels broke from their engagement and turned toward the fragile Hope. "They're targeting us specifically," Arya reported, fingers flying over the weapon's controls. "They really believe we destroyed their wormhole." "Let them come," Elena said. "Chip, status on those sensor modifications?" "Almost there," he called back. "Just need another minute." "We may not have a minute," Jia Min warned as the enemy ships closed in. The first barrage hit the fragile Hope like a hammer, sending tremors through the ancient vessel. Warning sirens blared as systems overloaded. "Hull breach on Deck 3, Jia Min reported. "Emergency force fields holding, but barely." "Return fire," Elena ordered. Arya slammed her fist on the weapons console. "Targeting systems completely offline now. I can fire, but it'll be blind." "Then fire blind," Elena decided. "Full spread." The fragile Hope's weapons discharged, energy beams lancing out in a wide pattern. Most missed, but one caught an Iron Soul vessel across its flank, causing it to veer off course. "Got it!" Chip shouted triumphantly from engineering. "Sensor modifications complete. I've identified a pattern in their formation changes. They're using automated protocols, responding to specific threat assessments with preset maneuvers." "Can we predict their movements?" Elena asked. "Better," Chip replied, his fingers dancing across the console. "We can manipulate them. If we present specific threat patterns, we can essentially choreograph their responses." A slow smile spread across Elena's face. "Arya, prepare for a very specific firing sequence. Jia Min, open a channel to the Alliance patrol ships. Let's coordinate." What followed was unlike any battle the Alliance had documented. The fragile Hope, despite its damaged systems and antiquated weapons, became the conductor of a deadly ballet. Using Chip's predictions, Elena positioned her ship to trigger specific responses from the Iron Soul vessels, herding them into positions where the Alliance patrol ships could strike effectively. "It's working!" Arya called out, as an Iron Soul ship veered directly into the line of fire of an Alliance patrol vessel. "Don't celebrate yet," Elena cautioned. "They'll adapt to our strategy soon enough." As if on cue, the Iron Soul vessels broke their predictable patterns, reforming into a new configuration. "They've switched protocols," Chip confirmed, calculating new patterns now. Before he could finish, a massive energy signature appeared at the edge of their sensor range. "New contact," Jia Min reported, her voice tense. It's enormous." The view screen showed a vessel at least 10 times the size of the fragile Hope, its hull bristling with weapons. The Iron Soul insignia was emblazoned across its bow. "Iron Soul battlecruiser," Arya identified it. "That's their flagship." A transmission cut across all channels, and a face appeared on the view screen. The being was humanoid, but with skin that seemed to shimmer with metallic properties, giving the impression of living steel. His eyes were deep-set and calculating. "Alliance vessels." He spoke in a resonant voice. "I am General Rail of the Iron Soul. You have entered sovereign Iron Soul space and engaged our patrol vessels. This act of aggression will not stand." "General Rail," Elena responded, stepping into view of the transmission. "I am Captain Elena Voss of the Alliance vessel Fragile Hope. There seems to be a misunderstanding. This is recognized Alliance space, and your vessels attacked our convoy unprovoked." Rail's metallic features shifted in what might have been surprise. "The human vessel, the one that destroyed our wormhole relay. My ship was docked at Titan Base when that incident occurred," Elena stated firmly. "We had nothing to do with it." "Lies." Rail dismissed her claim with a wave of his hand. "We have sensor readings confirming it was a vessel of your ship's class and registry. The Alliance sends the culprits back to the scene of their crime? How fitting." "General, I assure you." "Enough," Rail cut her off. "Your convoy will surrender its cargo as reparations for the wormhole relay. The guilty vessel, yours, Captain Voss, will surrender to face justice." Before Elena could respond, Captain Vex's transmission interrupted. General Rail, the convoy is under my command. The human vessel acts without authorization. We disavow their actions. Elena's jaw tightened at the betrayal, but she wasn't entirely surprised. The Syrian was protecting his ships and cargo, and throwing the fragile Hope to the wolves. Very well, Rail nodded. Stand down your vessels, Captain Vex, and prepare to be boarded. As for the human ship, his eyes narrowed. Surrender, or be destroyed. The transmission cut off, and Elena turned to her crew. Options. We're outgunned and outnumbered, Arya stated bluntly. And now we've been abandoned by our own convoy. The supply ships contain medical provisions and equipment for the Rhea outpost, Jia Min reminded them. If the Iron Soul takes them, thousands of colonists will suffer. Chip had been uncharacteristically quiet, his fingers moving rapidly over his console. Captain, he finally spoke. I might have an idea. It's risky, probably insane, but those are my favorite kind, Elena assured him. What are you thinking? The Fragile Hope's propulsion system is oversized. As I mentioned before, it's actually a drive core from a much larger vessel, retrofitted to fit this frame. There's a reason the Alliance stuck it in this old ship. It's unstable. Under normal conditions, it's manageable. But if we push it beyond safety protocols, it could explode, Arya finished. Not just explode, Chip corrected. It would create a localized implosion first, followed by a massive energy wave. If we could get close enough to the Iron Soul flagship, we'd destroy ourselves in the process, Jia Min pointed out. Not necessarily. Chip's eyes gleamed with the light of inspiration. The ship's emergency pods are old, but functional. If we set the drive to overload on a timer, we could potentially clear the blast radius. Potentially, Elena repeated, weighing the stakes. The lives of her crew against thousands of colonists who depended on those supplies. The potential for a wider conflict if the Iron Soul captured Alliance technology. The chance to prove that humans weren't the liability the Alliance believed them to be. There's another option, she said slowly, a plan forming in her mind. Chip, you said their ships follow automated response protocols. What if we could use that against them on a larger scale? For the next hour, as the Iron Soul flagship maintained position and the convoy remained in a tense standoff, the crew of the Fragile Hope worked feverishly. Chip rerouted power systems, Arya reconfigured the weapons array, and Jia Min programmed communication buoys with specific transmission patterns. It's ready, Chip finally announced, wiping sweat from his brow. But Captain, this plan is insane, Elena finished for him. I know, but it's the best chance we have. She opened a channel to the Iron Soul flagship. General Rail, this is Captain Voss. I request a private audience to discuss terms of surrender. After a moment's pause, Rail's face appeared on the screen. There are no terms to discuss, human. You will surrender unconditionally. Perhaps, Elena acknowledged. But before I do, I believe you should know the truth about the wormhole relay incident. It wasn't my ship that destroyed it, but I know who did. Information that I think would be valuable to you. Rail's metallic features remained impassive, but she could see the calculation in his eyes. You have 5 minutes to present yourself on my vessel. Alone. Agreed. As soon as the transmission ended, her crew erupted in protests. Captain, you can't go over there alone, Arya insisted. It's suicide. I don't intend to, Elena assured them. Rail will be expecting me in a shuttle. Instead, he'll get our surprise package. Chip, is the drone ready? Chip nodded. Modified as requested. It'll register as a shuttle on their sensors, carrying a single life form. Good. Elena turned to Jia Min. Prepare to launch the communication buoys on my mark. Their transmission patterns should trigger the automated responses we want from the smaller Iron Soul vessels. And the flagship? Arya asked. We'll be distracted by our shuttle, Elena replied. When the drone reaches their docking bay, It'll emit an electromagnetic pulse that should temporarily disable their systems. In that moment of confusion, we execute the rest of the plan. As her crew moved to their stations, Elena felt a moment of doubt. So many things could go wrong. The drone might be discovered. The EMP might not affect the flagship systems as expected. The Iron Soul vessels might not respond to the communication buoys as Chip predicted. But they had no choice. No backup. No support from the Alliance. Just a damaged, outdated ship and a crew with everything to prove. "Launching drone," Chip reported. On the view screen, the small craft, modified to appear as a shuttle on sensors, detached from the Fragile Hope and began its approach toward the Iron Soul flagship. "General Rail is hailing us," Jia Min announced. "Ignore it," Elena ordered. "He's probably wondering why our shuttle isn't responding to his traffic control. Launch communication buoys." Across the battlefield, small devices shot out from the Fragile Hope, positioning themselves strategically around the Iron Soul vessels. Each began broadcasting specific patterns designed to trigger automated defensive protocols. "Iron Soul vessels are responding," Arya reported, a note of amazement in her voice. "They're breaking formation exactly as predicted." Elena allowed herself a small smile. "Chip, status on the drone?" "Approaching the flagship's docking bay now. EMP will trigger in 30 seconds. "All hands, brace for maneuver," Elena called out. "Arya, prepare to execute firing pattern Alpha on my mark." The bridge crew gripped their stations as the seconds ticked down. On the view screen, they watched the drone disappear into the massive docking bay of the Iron Soul flagship. "EMP detonation confirmed," Chip exclaimed. "Flagship systems experiencing disruption." "Now!" Elena commanded. "Full thrust. Execute pattern Alpha." The Fragile Hope lurched forward, its oversized engines pushing it to speeds that sent warning alerts blaring across every console. The hull groaned under the strain as Elena guided the ship in a complex series of maneuvers designed to appear as if they were attempting to escape. As predicted, the Iron Soul vessels responded to both the communication buoys and the Fragile Hope's movement, repositioning themselves in a formation meant to cut off escape routes. Instead, they were moving exactly where Elena wanted them. "They're clustering," Arya confirmed, fingers poised over the weapons controls. "Ready to fire." "Wait for it," Elena instructed, eyes fixed on the tactical display. The Iron Soul vessels were almost in position, but the flagship was recovering faster than expected. "Flagship weapon systems coming back online," Jia Min warned. "Just a few more seconds," Elena muttered, watching as the final Iron Soul vessel moved into position. "Now! Arya, fire!" The Fragile Hope's weapons discharged, not at the Iron Soul vessels, but at a specific point in space where Chip had detected a high concentration of metallic asteroids. The energy beams struck the asteroids, superheating them instantly and creating a chain reaction of explosions. The resulting shockwave rippled through space, catching the clustered Iron Soul vessels unprepared. Their automated systems, still responding to the communication buoy's false threats, maneuvered them directly into the path of the debris. "Direct hits on multiple vessels," Arya reported, unable to keep the excitement from her voice. "Their formation is breaking." "Flagship still operational," Jia Min cautioned. "They're targeting us." "Evasive maneuvers," Elena ordered. "Chip, initiate Phase 2. While the Iron Soul vessels scrambled to regroup, Chip activated the second part of their plan. The Fragile Hope's unusual weapon system, which they had discovered was actually an experimental prototype, began to emit a specific frequency that interfered with the Iron Soul ship's communication systems. "It's working," Chip confirmed. "Their ships can't coordinate. Their automated protocols are failing without central command." Elena opened a channel to Captain Vex. "Alliance Convoy. This is Captain Voss. The Iron Soul fleet is in disarray. I suggest you take this opportunity to proceed to the Rhea outpost while we hold their attention." There was a pause before Vex responded. His crystalline features, showing what might have been reluctant respect. Acknowledged. Captain Voss. Convoy moving out. Good luck. As the supply ships began to move away from the battle, the Iron Soul flagship recovered enough to launch a barrage of weapons fire at the fragile Hope. The ancient vessel shuddered under the impact. "Hull breaches on decks 2 and 4, Giamin called out. "Structural integrity compromised." "Rerouting power to emergency force fields," Chip responded, his hands moving frantically over his console. "But we can't take another hit like that." Elena's mind raced. The convoy was escaping, but the fragile Hope was now the focus of the Iron Soul's attention, particularly General Rail's flagship. They'd accomplished their primary mission, but at the cost of their own survival. Unless... "Chip," she called out, "the drive core overload you mentioned earlier, is it still an option?" The engineer looked up, his expression grave. "Yes, but we'd need to get much closer to the flagship for it to be effective, and the timing would have to be perfect for us to escape in the pods." Elena nodded. "Plot a collision course with the flagship." "Captain," Arya questioned, her voice tense. "Not a direct collision," Elena clarified. "A near miss, close enough for the drive core implosion to disable their systems, but giving us enough time to reach the escape pods." "It's risky," Chip warned. "If the timing is off by even a few seconds." "It's our only option," Elena decided. "Prepare the drive core for overload. Set the timer for 3 minutes. That should give us enough time to approach, launch pods, and clear the blast radius." As her crew prepared for the desperate maneuver, Elena opened a channel to the Iron Soul flagship. "General Rail, this is Captain Voss." The general's face appeared on screen, his metallic features contorted with rage. "Your tricks have caused enough damage, human, but they won't save you." "Perhaps not," Elena acknowledged. "But I wanted you to know something before this ends. The fragile Hope, this ship that your forces are so determined to destroy, it wasn't even in service when your wormhole relay was attacked. We've been set up, General. Someone wants war between the Iron Soul and the Alliance." "More human deception," Rail dismissed her. "Your ship's registry was clearly identified at the scene." "Registry can be falsified," Elena countered, "just as the communication signals we use to confuse your vessels. Think about it, General. Who benefits from conflict between our peoples?" For a moment, something like doubt flickered across Rail's features. Then his expression hardened. "It changes nothing. Your ship will be destroyed." "Perhaps," Elena repeated. "But remember this conversation when you discover the truth." She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. "Status?" "Drive core overload programmed," Chip confirmed. "Timer set for 3 minutes on your mark." "Escape pods ready," Giamin reported. "But Captain, the Iron Soul ships are regrouping. They'll target the pods as soon as we launch." Elena considered this new complication. The plan had always been risky, but now it seemed impossible. If they couldn't escape in the pods... "Captain," Arya spoke up, her expression resolute. "I'll stay behind. Manual control of the weapon systems could provide cover fire for the escape pods." "Absolutely not," Elena refused immediately. "We all make it out, or none of us do." "Wait," Chip interrupted, his eyes lighting up with a new idea. "What if we don't need the escape pods at all? What if the fragile Hope herself could survive the implosion?" "Explain," Elena demanded. "The experimental weapon system we've been using. It's not just a weapon. I've been analyzing its design. It's a reflection array, originally designed to redirect energy. If I can reconfigure it to channel the drive core implosion energy outward instead of inward." "The ship could survive," Elena finished, hope rising. "But could we get far enough away after the initial approach?" "We'd need a distraction," Chip admitted. "Something to keep the flagship occupied while we make our escape." Jiamin suddenly straightened. "The communication boys. We still have 3 left. If we program them with a specific signature, They could mimic our ship on their sensors. Arya caught on. Create ghost targets. Elena nodded, the plan taking shape in her mind. Do it. Chip, reconfigure the reflection array. Arya, prepare for one final attack run. Jia Min, launch the remaining buoys on my mark. The next few minutes were a flurry of activity, as the crew of the Fragile Hope prepared for their desperate gambit. Chip worked feverishly to reconfigure the experimental weapon system, while Jia Min programmed the communication buoys with signatures that would register as the Fragile Hope on Iron Soul sensors. Ready, Captain. Chip finally reported. Drive core overload will begin on your command. The reflection array is configured to redirect the energy, but I can't guarantee it'll work perfectly. Understood, Elena acknowledged. Jia Min, launch the buoys. 3 small devices shot out from the Fragile Hope, each taking a different trajectory away from the ship. Within moments, the Iron Soul vessels began to register multiple Fragile Hope signatures on their sensors. They're confused, Arya reported with satisfaction. Their ships are splitting up to pursue the decoys. But not the flagship, Elena noted. Rail isn't falling for it. He's still focused on us. Then we go straight for him, Arya suggested. One final, direct approach. Elena nodded. Set course for the flagship. Full power to forward shields. Initiate drive core overload on my mark. The Fragile Hope surged forward, its ancient frame groaning under the strain. On the view screen, the massive form of the Iron Soul flagship grew larger, its weapons ports glowing with energy as they prepared to fire. Drive core overload initiated, Chip confirmed. We have 3 minutes until implosion. Flagship is locking weapons, Jia Min warned. Evasive pattern Delta, Elena ordered. Keep us moving unpredictably, but maintain course for close approach. The Fragile Hope twisted and turned, avoiding the worst of the flagship's barrage, but several hits still connected. Warning alarms blared across the bridge as systems failed. 2 minutes to implosion, Chip called out. We need to get closer. Targeting their weapons array, Arya announced, fingers flying over her console. Firing! The Fragile Hope's weapons lashed out, striking the flagship's primary weapons cluster. The larger vessel shuddered, momentarily ceasing fire. Now, Elena commanded. Full thrust! The ship leaped forward, closing the distance to the flagship rapidly. They were now close enough to see individual details of the massive vessel through the view screen, close enough for the drive core implosion to have maximum effect. 1 minute to implosion, Chip reported tensely. Reflection array charging. Beginning evasive withdrawal, Elena ordered. Get us out of here, maximum speed. The Fragile Hope pivoted sharply, its engines straining as it accelerated away from the flagship. Behind them, the Iron Soul vessel began to give chase, secondary weapon systems coming online. 30 seconds, Chip counted down. Reflection array at full capacity. They're gaining on us, Jia Min warned. Their weapons are locking. Hold course, Elena instructed, her knuckles white as she gripped her chair. Trust the plan. 15 seconds. The flagship fired, energy beams lancing out toward the fleeing Fragile Hope. Several connected with the ship's aft section, sending tremors through the hull. Engine 3 offline, Chip shouted over the alarms. We're losing speed. 10 seconds. Brace for impact, Elena called out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The universe seemed to hold its breath. Then, from deep within the Fragile Hope, a strange silence fell as the drive core collapsed in on itself. For a terrifying moment, it seemed as if nothing was happening. Then came the implosion. A wave of energy rippled through the ship, momentarily distorting space around them. The reflection array activated, channeling the destructive force outward in a focused beam that shot back toward the pursuing flagship. The Iron Soul vessel had no time to evade. The energy wave struck it dead center, enveloping the massive ship in a corona of blue-white light. Systems overloaded, shields failed, and the flagship drifted helplessly, temporarily paralyzed by the energy surge. On the Fragile Hope, The crew picked themselves up from the deck where the force of the maneuver had thrown them. "Status report," Elena called out, wiping blood from a cut on her forehead. "Drive core stable but depleted," Chip responded, checking his readings with disbelief. The reflection array worked. It channeled most of the implosion energy outward. "Weapons offline," Arya reported. "Hull integrity at critical levels, but holding." "Communications functional," Jia Min added. "Captain, the convoy is hailing us. They've reached the edge of the system. They're safe." A cheer went up from the bridge crew. Against all odds, they had succeeded. The convoy was safe, and the Fragile Hope, the weakest ship in the Alliance fleet, had disabled an Iron Soul flagship. "And the Iron Soul vessels?" Elena asked. "Regrouping around their flagship," Jia Min reported. "But they're not pursuing. They appear to be initiating recovery operations." Elena nodded, allowing herself to relax slightly. "Open a channel to the flagship." After a moment, General Rail's face appeared on the view screen. His metallic features were no longer composed. Instead, they showed a mixture of shock and grudging respect. "Captain Voss," he acknowledged. "It seems I underestimated your vessel and your species." "A common mistake, General," Elena replied. "One I hope won't be repeated." "Your ship could have destroyed mine," Rail observed. "Yet you chose to disable rather than destroy. Why?" "Because I meant what I said earlier," Elena told him. "Someone wants war between us. I don't. And I suspect neither do you." Rail was silent for a long moment. "The wormhole relay," he finally said. "You truly believe your ship was not responsible?" "I know it wasn't," Elena confirmed. "And I intend to find out who was." "As do I," Rail nodded. "This incident is concluded for now, Captain Voss, but we will meet again." "I look forward to it, General," Elena replied, and meant it. As the transmission ended, she turned to her crew. "Jia Min, set course for the Rhea outpost. Let's deliver the good news in person." "With all due respect, Captain." Chip gestured at the damage report scrolling across his console. "We're barely holding together. We should return to Titan Base for repairs." "Repairs can wait," Elena decided. "I want the Alliance to see what this ship, what humans, are capable of." Besides, she added with a small smile, "I think the Fragile Hope has earned her moment of glory, don't you?" 3 weeks later, the Fragile Hope limped back into Titan Base, escorted by an honor guard of Alliance vessels. News of their victory over the Iron Soul flagship had spread throughout the Alliance, transforming the perception of both the ship and her human crew. Admiral Kazan was waiting as Elena and her crew disembarked. His mandibles were notably still, an Arcturian sign of formal respect. "Captain Voss," he greeted her. "The Alliance Council has reviewed your mission report. Your actions in defense of the supply convoy were unexpected, but effective," Elena pointed out. "Indeed." The Admiral seemed to struggle with his next words. "The Council has unanimously voted to award the Fragile Hope a new designation. She will henceforth be known as the Indomitable Spirit, in recognition of her service." Elena shared a glance with her crew, pride evident in their expressions. "The ship deserves the honor, Admiral. But what of the matter of the wormhole relay? Has there been an investigation into who falsified our registry?" Kazan's compound eyes shifted uncomfortably. "That matter is ongoing. However, evidence has emerged suggesting involvement from a faction within the Alliance itself, one opposed to human integration." "As we suspected," Elena nodded. "And our next assignment?" "The Council has granted you and your crew extended shore leave while the Indomitable Spirit undergoes comprehensive repairs and upgrades." Kazan hesitated before adding, "There has also been discussion of expanding human participation in Alliance operations. Your success has altered certain perspectives." As the Admiral departed, Elena turned to her crew. "Well done, all of you. We've proven what humans can achieve, even with the weakest ship in the fleet. Not the weakest anymore, Chip pointed out with a grin. Though I'll miss tinkering with all those jury-rigged systems. Don't worry, Arya assured him. I'm sure Captain Voss will find us plenty of trouble to get into with our upgraded ship. Speaking of which, Jia Min interrupted, checking her communication device. Earth Command is requesting a full briefing. It seems we've become something of a sensation back home. Elena smiled, looking back at the scarred but proud vessel docked behind them. From the fragile hope to the indomitable spirit, it was a transformation that mirrored humanity's own journey within the Alliance. Once dismissed, now respected. Once given the weakest ship as an insult, they had turned it into their greatest strength. Let's not keep them waiting, she said to her crew. After all, we have quite a story to tell. As they walked away from the docking bay, Alliance personnel of various species nodded in acknowledgement. No longer were they viewed as inferior newcomers. They had earned their place among the stars, not despite their limitations, but because of how they had overcome them. The fragile hope had lived up to its name in ways no one could have predicted. It had carried not just a crew, but the hopes of an entire species. And those hopes, once fragile, were now indomitable.